What's going on today, YouTubers? Welcome to another edition of Walking Reviews. Today we're going to be taking a look at, I guess would be considered a mid-tech knife. I don't believe it's a full production. This is out of Russia by a maker named Alexy Konygin and made by Custom Knife Factory. This is the Ratata model. So let's go ahead and jump into the specs. We have a 3.66 inch blade of M390 steel in a modified drop point blade shape with what is essentially a full flat grind for most of the knife, or as close to it as it needs to be called a full flat grind. I mean, there's this tiny little top swedge there, but it's essentially a full flat grind. And then kind of a weird compound thing going on back towards the tang of the knife where it's thicker. So I'm not 100% sure what the deal with that is, maybe just for aesthetics, but essentially it's a full flat grind and very thin behind the edge, very sharp, extremely sharp. It's got a nice black stonewash finish, which is really great at hiding any kind of use. You can see it's pretty much sterile on the locking side of the blade. And the only thing on the show side is just the steel and the serial number. I believe all of these are serial numbered. They're limited run. So the blade length 3.66 inches, handle length 4.57 inches. So overall you're just under 8.25 inches as far as length goes. Normally I'm not one to buy a knife that large, but I just really thought this one was cool. Very much enjoy the aesthetic. The handles are titanium and it is a frame lock. This does look a lot like another model from Custom Knife Factory called the Decepticon, but that was actually a liner lock, I believe. This is kind of made to look the same way, like different layers here, but it's just a single piece of titanium on each side. There's your lockup. It does have a steel lock insert. Runs on ceramic bearings with a ceramic detent. You can see there it's kind of a 3D milled titanium pocket, actually Timascus pocket clip, sorry, but that is thin enough to almost be a spring clip there. Carries very well in the pocket. It actually carries well, but it doesn't necessarily sit all the way down. You actually have to kind of push it into your pocket. There you can see you got a little lanyard hole for those that put lanyards on their knives. The action is exceptionally smooth. Very low profile flipper tab. You almost can't see it when the knife is open or when it's closed. It's very small, but because of the dialed in detent, it's got nice jimping on it, so it grips your finger. The blade does fire out pretty hard, so and as you can see, just falls shut when the lock bar is disengaged. Let's see, any other stats here. So ceramic bearings, titanium frame lock, M390 blade steel flipper. I feel like I could take those stats and kind of transcribe them onto any knife almost. But this one obviously stands apart, I think, from other knives that I've shown on the channel and probably that you've seen, just because of the absolutely unique aesthetic. Well, I shouldn't say absolutely unique. It does look like a a little bit like the Decepticon, but it does have that full black wash and the handles and blade, and that really nice splash of color with the Damascus pocket clip. I think there are other versions of this knife with different finishes, but this one is definitely my favorite. One thing that's not my favorite is the hardware. It's almost like the Neon hardware, where you have to use a flathead screwdriver, and then you risk doing this, which you can see the black wash is just slightly taken off there on the pivot, because I was taking the knife apart. When I did take the knife apart, caged bearings, very large cages with the ceramic bearings, so they are nice and spread out, distributing the force of the lockup, so there's zero blade play, very secure lockup, but it's very easy to get into the lock bar also. It's got a little cutout there, and then like I said, once the lock is disengaged, the blade just falls shut. Fit and finish, I've never had a CKF knife that wasn't pretty much perfect, and this one is no different. They are machined, the pieces are machined in China, but they're hand fit in the Custom Knife Factory facility, and they do make sure that everything is on point before it leaves their shop. So I've never had an issue with them. The action, really nice. Man, I'm struggling to find stuff to say about this knife, even though it's so unique. Just because, I mean, when you've reviewed enough frame lock flippers, there's not a whole lot. I do like the details here, the way that they smoothed out the edges here, so nothing touches your finger when you're flipping the knife. I really like being able to see the blade when it's closed, although it would probably look even better if the blade was a different color than the handle. That way you could, you would notice immediately that there's a hole in the frame. I really like the addition of the Damascus pocket clip for the color. I don't know that I have anything negative to say about this knife. Maybe ergonomically it's not the most comfortable. Because it is so wide, it's also going to take up a lot of real estate in your pocket, so be prepared for that. This is a very wide knife. It's probably the widest knife that I own, so you have to be aware of that when you're carrying it, that you're not going to be able to get too much else in your pockets unless you have giant pockets. The construction is extremely simple, just the one standoff and then the pivot screw. There's not even a blade stop. It's actually an internal blade stop. The blade has two little posts on it that ride in a groove in the handle, and then that stops the blade when it's open. Weight is 4.25 ounces. This does have a very good blade to handle ratio. Like I said, it's 3.66 inches on the blade and then 4.57 on the handle. So you're getting quite a bit of blade for the amount of handle that you have. And if you are using this for any kind of purpose where you need to grip the knife like this, it's comfortable like this. But as far as this goes, not the most comfortable in the world. But I tend to use my knives in the pinch grip, so not an issue for me. As far as value goes, yeah, let's get into the value. Brand new street, these run for about $380 to $390 from Knife Center. That's where I got mine. For a knife of this quality, I think it's definitely high value. I'm sure you can find the exact materials on another knife for less money, but the design, the execution, well worth it in my book. So kudos to Custom Knife Factory and Alexy Konygin. Definitely a fan of the design, definitely a fan of the execution. my hands are fucking freezing and going numb, so I'm gonna end the video now. Sorry for the abrupt end, but I can't feel my fingers. Alright guys, take it easy. I'll see you on the next one.